Alright guys, well, here we are, 5:30 in the morning. No idea how time slipped away from me tonight. It's like, what the fuck? I had like no responsibility tonight. All I had to do was buy Karina birthday presents. That's it. It's like the only thing I had to do, and then do a video, and then I could go to sleep. It's 5:30. I don't know how that happened. I went down like a rabbit hole with sex toys. I think that's why. That's what I'm getting her, like a bunch of sex toys, like shit that'll benefit me. It's like, look, here's an outfit that'll make you give me better blowjobs. It's a fucking amazing birthday present. Happy birthday, babe. Somebody brought it to my attention. I rarely check my email these days. Just because, like, I know it sounds weird, but I'm, like, so freaked out about, like, any more stress being, like, added to my queue of stress that I don't want to check comments. I don't want to check Twitter. I don't want to check Instagram. Like, no mail. Like, I just don't. I want to be like in my own little bubble right now. But I did see from Marcus Snow. Sent me. He commented and it like emailed me and it was like, "Hey, I think you have HIV." I was like, "We've covered that last month. We tested negative for that." But he said that I forget what the dude's name is. He's on a different prison channel. The other day I was like, somebody told me that the guy talked shit about me, and then I responded. I was like, "I'll fight that fool. What's up? I'll do anything for money." And I was serious about it too. You know, I mean, I'm definitely not scared of people. I mean, whatever. I'm whatever, you know? But I ended up going on this dude's channel and looking at the video that he posted. And, like, I gotta be honest, I felt bad for this guy. Like, I don't even think he's a bad guy. I'm a very forgiving person, but apparently, okay, 2 issues with this guy, and then we'll get into the video. But the first is that he said that he reached out to me, like, a year ago, and I ignored him. Definitely never saw it. I didn't intentionally ignore him or anyone else. I never do that. And that kind of, like, struck a chord with me because I remember reaching out to Jessica Kent like a year ago, and I heard nothing back. I was like, "What, fuck her then." And then I just met up with her maybe like a month ago, and she's like, "I never got that." You know, I get like 1,000,000 comments, and I don't even check my comments on YouTube anymore, so I don't know where I tried to reach out to me, but I totally, like, understand that, like, because I was pissed off at her, even though I shouldn't have been. She's cool, and I don't think she intentionally ignored me. But that's, I think, originally what his beef was with me. And then he said a second part of it, that I talked shit about him on Savage Studios' channel. I did not do that. That's not, I don't do shit like that. I don't fuck with Savage. I don't know much about him. I know he's like a PC, channel, if you can be one. "Hey, what's up? I'm PC, the channel. What's up, dog? Let's run up some debts. Fuck it." You know, I mean, and then I went on that dude's channel tonight, and I was, like, looking at his videos, and I don't know, dude. The whole prison channel culture with, like, beef and, like, people wearing bandanas. Like, let's wear a bandana, let's do a video about how we don't like other channels. Fuck it. That's whack. I don't hold anything against that guy. Like, again, I'll fight anybody for money, for charity money. But I don't even think that was this dude's thing. He was just like, hey, the dude ignored me and it hurt my feelings. I mean, he didn't say it hurt his feelings because prison people don't do that. But he said that it pissed him off. I get that. And I commented, I was like, "Hey, man, like, you got it all wrong. I never talked shit about you on Savage Studios. That's for sure never happened. Me ignoring you, it was not intentional, and I understand that, and whatever, you know." I don't remember what I said exactly. I said I make a better friend than foe. Stole that from Aryan Brotherhood dude that I met once. I just always thought that sounded hard, so I just wanted to say it. Like, copy and paste it, wrote it like 30 times. No, I didn't do that. But just for the record, I'm not mad at this dude. Or, like, there really was no beef. It was just, like, he thought I ignored him, and he thought that I talked shit about him on this other channel, which I didn't. I don't even fuck with that other channel. I don't know much about it. I heard some shit about that guy, like stalking a girl or so. I don't even know. I don't know. Actually, I don't want to run my mouth on shit that I don't even know what I'm talking about. I vaguely remember it, though. But definitely never talked shit about this guy. I forget what the guy's name is. JD, maybe. Something like that. I don't know. But that sucks when people think that you ignore them and like they think that like I think I'm like too cool for school. I definitely don't think that. I just really don't check DMs or whatever. You know, I can't. I already suck at life as it is. I don't need more responsibilities of. And I don't like when people talk shit either. On DMs, people say some crazy shit. Yo, you're a bitch. I'm like, yeah, so? And then they like send me like a handwritten note that says I'm a bitch. I'm like, fuck. Hurts way more than just typing. Alright, let's get into the video. It sucks. I did a monologue earlier. That was the point of not doing one for this video, but then a whole night got away from me. And it is hot as all fuck in here. Alright. This is a good story. This is the conclusion, maybe, of the house. I don't know. Maybe I can't wrap it up in a video, but I'm going to try. It is late, and Karina's like, do not go to sleep at 8 a.m. and miss Easter. I'll be fucking mad your dick smells so bad. Easter-style dick stinking. It's like multicolored. It's like green odor. Alright. So where we left off last time is really weird coincidence. When I was working for Adam was actually who I based the agent character in Wasting Talent on, because Adam was a guy, I was 22 years old back then, I think. And Adam was probably like 30. I don't know, he seemed like ancient to me then. I remember, you know how like when you're like in your early 20s, people that are like over 30 just seem old? Now I'm like in my mid-30s, I'm like old and creepy. I guess people in their early 20s look at me like that. But he was already off to a really successful career at Spike. Actually, that guy is one of the producers of Ridiculousness now. So pretty much did like the entire thing. It pretty much did the same thing his entire career. He would find content and broker it to major studios or television networks. Spike TV, worked for Court TV, worked for A&E, and now he works for MTV for Ridiculousness. I talked to him like a couple years ago, back when I was pitching that Antoine, or the, what's his name? The pro skater. Antoine Dixon. When I was pitching that show, I took it to Adam, and he rejected it. He's like, I don't care about you. I'm like 40 now, and you're still in your 30s. I think he's actually older than that now. But anyway, when he met me, he really liked me. He was like one of those guys that like, right when he met me, he's like, I'm going to take you under my wing, because he saw that I had like a hustler quality to me. I had the gift of gab, you know, even though I smelled like shit and I had acne, and he knew that I was on drugs. He asked me that before. He's like, aren't you and Paul like on heroin or something? I was like, yeah, so. He's like, all you guys are. I don't care. Just keep giving me that fire content. I was like, yeah, no problem. He definitely knew. And he ended up hooking me up with that guy, Drew. This dude, he was from the East Coast, but he was like, I don't know, an islander or something. I don't even know. It's like from, maybe like Samoa. He seemed like maybe a Samoan guy, but he wasn't heavyset. He was just really tall. And Adam basically looked at Drew like he was like his golden child. Like Drew was able to get a vast array of clips for him. All sorts of random stuff. You know, partying, skateboarding, graffiti, fights, like this guy just knew everybody and just came up on random clips, which is actually a pretty sought after skill. Is that a skill or resource? I guess it's like a sought after resource, because those clips sell for a lot of money. We would like when I bought them off police stations, I'd buy them for like $300 or $400, and I could sell them for all the way up to like $3,000. You know, that was $3,000 was like not typical. Like maybe once in a while, if it was something really good, I could sell it for that. But they're usually selling for like $1,000, 700, 800. So no matter what, I was making a pretty good profit. The name of the game was to get as many clips as possible because a lot of them get turned down. So Adam had pretty much pleaded to me and been like, look, we can't control this guy Drew. Like, it didn't matter what you asked Drew for. You could never tell him something specifically and he'd be able to get it. It wasn't like that. It was like he'd bring really good footage and half the time Adam couldn't use it or not. So he just, I guess, wanted me to try to keep him in line. I was like heavily addicted to crack at that point. And we end up one day going to get this nightclub footage from like a nightclub fight from a house. That's all he had told me. It's like, yeah, I got this house. These people live there. They live there and they have fucking clips. And I want them and we're going to go get them. You can't come in with me. Just drop me off down the street. I'll go get them. I'll be in and out. But we're going to need money. I need like $700, $800 to get it. But we can sell them. I'm telling you, there's going to be quality, brother. There's going to be quality. We'll sell for $2,000. I was a drug dealer, you know, and like I was saying in the last video, I had this weird like personality crisis where I was like almost embarrassed that I was a drug dealer, you know, like I felt like I'd outgrown it. I wanted to be like a TV guy now, like work with these producers, and selling drugs was kind of like my dark little secret. But it helped a lot for situations like this because part of buying clips was that you had to have cash. You know, you had to have a bunch of cash on hand, and maybe I'd buy 5 clips, $1,500. Maybe I'd sell 2 of them, you know, make, I don't know, $2,500 altogether. So I'd make $1,000. But the more that I did, the more I would make. So it was like the kind of thing that was perfect for a drug dealer because it took, you know, a lot of investment money to start making other money. Like, I don't think that would be a good hustle for somebody that didn't have disposable income like I had at that time. So when Drew ends up taking me to this neighborhood, I didn't recognize it at first because the time that Jenny and I had gone there, the night where we had run out of the house and we left that duffel bag full of Molly in there, we were really tired. I remember being really tired that night and like sitting in front, and it was at night. This particular time, it was like in the afternoon, and it took me a second to kind of like register that this was the same neighborhood that I'd been in before. And I don't know if I had mentioned in the last video or not, but I was smoking crack that day. Drew didn't care that I smoked crack. I'd be like driving and like hitting the tube, and he'd just be like, yeah, dude, I know people that buy used crack pipes if you say that they're from mafia guys. It's a fucking niche market, but I know people that'll buy it. They just had these weird ass like connections like that. They just random shit. So he had gone into the house, and I'm sitting outside, and I was smoking crack. I didn't have a lot left. I remember I had to do a push, and for those of you that don't smoke crack or don't know anything about crack, when you smoke crack, here we are for a crack lesson, guys. When you smoke crack, you have like a straight shooter glass tube, and you put Chore Boy Brillo, you know, those like little Brillo scrub pads that you use to like wash dishes with. You scrunch it up, you put it in the tube, bunch it in there, and it acts as, I don't know, like a filter and like a little prop where you can put the crack rock. And you light it, you kind of burn it a little bit so that the crack melts onto the Brillo. And then you take your fat little booyah blast and you just go out into outer space. I mean, smoking crack is definitely not something that I recommend people doing. Certainly destroyed my life, but one of the problems with it is that you're just like, you're delusional on crack. Like, you think that it's like socially acceptable to be smoking crack while you're driving. Drew really didn't care, but like, not everybody was like that. And you get incredibly paranoid, and then you get delirium where you can't really differentiate between paranoid delusion or reality. So I was dealing with that at that time, and I remember I had run out of, or I was like low on crack, whatever the case was. I was trying to do a push. And what that means is you get like, usually like a clothing, like a, what the fuck's it called? Like a hanger, right? So they have those wire hangers, and you take it apart, and then you have like the thin wire, and you can push the Brillo back and forth, and you kind of like get the crack residue collects on the sides and like bunches up, kind of gets loosened up, and then you have a crack push, which is like a fat crack hit. So I was doing the push, and I got it all ready before I left the car. I like did all the work. I don't know what I was using. I was probably like had a screwdriver or something. I don't even remember, but I remember that I was like gathering the push with the Brillo. And it kind of dawned on me that this was the same neighborhood as those gay dudes where I'd lost my Molly. Now, real quick, what had happened at that point, I had recently gone into business with my friend Kevin. If you guys remember, he was a coke dealer with his girlfriend Erica. They were like selling kilos to the college kids, and that's how I met Sass and that whole group of people. Is I went to that Halloween party at his house. We were looking at Where's Waldo's book on acid, and I basically ended up getting recruited by Sass and like the bigger league people. Kevin didn't immediately start working with me as like a business partner until months into it. But at a certain point, Sass realized that I was a heroin addict and that I was smoking crack. Usually together. I'm like, look, I'm going to smoke crack and I'm going to just look at this aquarium and see what fish do. Oh, look at the purple one, bro. Adorable. He's like, oh, shit, man. I got to link you up with Kevin. I can't trust you with, $100,000 worth of Molly at a time. So basically Kevin got employed because Sass started seeing that I had a drug problem, and he wanted somebody that was a little more sane to be involved with it. Even though Jenny was like kind of my rock, he looked at me like as a liability, the same as that he looked at Damon, the guy that I basically stolen Sass from. Remember the guy in the Speedo that I initially like burned for the fake DMT, and he gave me all the drugs? That's how I got hooked up with these people to begin with. So after I'd lost that duffel bag, see, back then I was making good money, but I wasn't making good enough money where I could just afford to lose whatever it was. It was like 8 or 10 ounces of Molly, like almost like 10 grand worth of shit. At that point, if I lost something like that, I'd just go out of business entirely. So I had to go to Kevin and tell him what happened. I was like, hey, bro, I tried to move in with this obese black dude and his gay Puerto Rican boyfriend. I don't know what happened. It was a total freak out when I got down there. Cops came. I left the duffel bag with the Molly in there. I'm completely dusted with money, bro. You can't leave me stranded like this. And that guy, I talked to him for like 5 hours yesterday on the phone. We're still good friends. But Kevin had like a big heart. And he knew that I was going to be fucked. Like, if I wasn't able to pay Sass back. Because at that point, Sass was fronting everything to us. For years, when I worked for him, he would give us these huge credit lines. But like 10 grand, when the amount of crack and heroin that I was doing daily, I wouldn't have been able to recover from that. So Kevin actually gave me the money to be able to pay him back so that I could re-up. And this had happened like a couple months before I was down there with Drew for the story that I'm telling you about. So Kevin was really like who got me back on my feet at that point. Now I'm in my car. Fast forward, right? 2 months. I just did the push for the crack tube. And it dawns on me that it was the same neighborhood. I was like, no way. No way. I wonder if my duffel bag's still there. Of course, I'm in crack delusion at the time. I get out of the car. I walk up the block. And remember that gate that I told you about for this house? It was like a gate with like these wooden panels. It was unmistakably this place. Like for sure, this was the same house. And when you're on crack, shit like that just makes sense. You're like, oh yeah, duh. Of course I'm going to be taken back here. It's an energy thing. I'm going to go back to the car and smoke crack and think about this. So I just was like, I'm going to ask Drew about it when he comes back. So I ended up going back to my car. I had already done the push for the crack, but I hadn't hit it yet. Or maybe I had, I already had hit it. Duh. I hit it before I had left the car. And when I got back to my car, I go to hit it again. But I'd already, like, done all the push. So, like, I'm getting really desperate now. I'm just, like, pretty much hitting this, this Cherboy. You know, I'm basically hitting the Brillo. There's, like, no drugs in it. So it's getting really hot. And that tends to happen with the crack too. Like it can overheat and then you like burn your hand. And I was opening my door, kind of like just hitting it with the door open, trying to hit this tube. It got really hot and I dropped it. Fucking tube shattered on the street. I was like, fuck. I think I want to say I had like a little bit left, you know, but it was like the absolute last of it. Until I got back to Santa Barbara. Of course, I would like go score somewhere in LA, but I think I had like just a little bit left, like a little teeny rock, like one hit left, but I like just broke my pipe because I was trying to get all like greedy with like trying to get another push out of it that wasn't even there. No surprise, the crack dilemma becomes the priority. Like, never mind the fact that some hustler dude that my boss hooked me up with just took me back to this random house where these gay couple lived, where I basically, like, I never knew what happened. I didn't know if they had called the cops on me, if it was a jack move. Like, I don't know what happened. None of that mattered because now I'm, like, dealing with this catastrophe of not having my crack tube. And I'm starting to panic. You know, I'm like, oh, what if I can't take another hit? Start looking around desperately for something to smoke out of. Now, with crack, you're kind of limited. I mean, you don't have that many options. You can use a straight shooter. You can use a can. Soda can is probably the most convenient because they're everywhere. And what you can do, it's kind of like when you smoke weed out of a can, you poke little holes in it. So, like, I would break the can cap in half, kind of twist it with my teeth and make it sharp. And then I would make little teeny holes on the soda can, make a carb, you know, bend it. And then what you have to do is get cigarette ash and kind of just ash on this can. Then you can hit a crack on the ash, and that way it doesn't get sucked through. The ash kind of acts as like a filtering system. That would be the preferred method at this point, but I didn't have a can in my car. And my cars are always gross. I'm the kind of guy that like, I'll like take a bite of a cheeseburger and be like, fucking gross, I'm on drugs. And I'll just throw it in the back and like, it'll start rotting like a few months later and just stinks. It smells like a dead body. My car right now smells like that. We can't figure out why it stinks. It's like it smells like a dick. So I'm tripping out, right? There's no can. Not even thinking about Drew in this house or like what this even means. I don't care. I just want to do another hit of crack. One other thing that you can do is you can use the antenna from an old car. So old cars have these like metallic antennas that are like pretty much like hollow, you know? And you can snap one and you can hit a crack in this like snapped antenna and you can hit it. It's like a little one-hitter. Now, of course, my Volvo didn't have one of those because I'd already snapped it off months before when I was in the similar situation in Monterey or something. All you have to do is find an old car. I mean, new cars don't have antennas like that, but like, you know, 1980s, early 90s cars have that. There's not a lot of houses on the street, like maybe 5 or 6. And I'm looking, there's not a lot of options. I'm panicking though. I get out of the car, and I just leave. I'm like, fuck it, I'm gonna find a, I'm gonna find an antenna. And that's, so that's what needs to happen. Go probably, I don't know, around the block. Like, it's not on the same street that we're on. I go to the end of the street, I turn right, and I see some old car, like an old Honda or something, or no, an old Toyota. It has one of the antennas. I was like, I'm in luck. And I try to snap it, but I'm like so cracked out that like I'm like muscle atrophy. Like I like try to like snap the antenna and like my hand's shaking. Like, fuck, it's like so easy to do too. It just shows how pathetically strung out I was at the time. So I'm like using both hands. I'm like trying really hard. I'm making like karate noises. I'm like, ah! And I got it. Now I'm such a fucking crackhead. Like a normal person, a rational person, when you go and damage somebody's fucking car like that, you would think you would leave. Get out of there as quickly as possible. I was like, yeah, I'll do that, but I'm going to sit here, I'm going to smoke crack first. So I just knelt down, started fucking with the antenna. Get whatever little piece of crack that I have left, put it at the end of the antenna, and I started hitting it. Just right there. Now, it's not a busy street. This is like, kind of like up in the hills between Encino and Sherman Oaks, so it's like upper middle class houses, not crowded streets at all. This is kind of like up in the hills or whatever. And I sit there and I take my hit, couple hits, hit it as many times as you want. One of the problems with the antenna is you can't get the push, so you got to make your hits count. That's why I think I had just like a little bit left. I finish up, walk back to my car. Drew's still not back yet. Sit there and I wait probably, who knows how much time. Honestly, I was like all cracked out. I don't really remember. It seemed like a long time, maybe like 20, 30 minutes. I'm just sitting there and I'm like starting to come down off the crack now, like starting to feel like shit. And I see Drew come out of the house. All right, cool. Can't wait to ask him about this couple. Basically tell him that these people stole the Molly from me, because in my mind, that's what had happened. I don't know for sure if that's what had gone down, but like, I had to put blame on somebody. So like in my mind, and to Kevin after he lent me the money, I was like, yeah, this fucking gay couple, fucking hate gay people. Gay people always steal Molly. Every fucking time. Kevin's like, gay people have stolen Molly from you before? I was like, yeah. Because they're gay. Sorry. That's a stupid joke. So Drew's walking back to the car. And all of a sudden, a cop car turns on the street, rolls right up to where my car is, and just stops. Now Drew's walking to me, right? Sees the cop, sees me, and he just starts walking in the other direction, just leaves me there. I was like, hey. I didn't even know why the cop was there. That's how like cracked out I was. Like I didn't put it together that I just snapped somebody's fucking antenna off. Cop comes up, rolls his window down. He's like, hey, we got a report that somebody was destroying a vehicle up here. I was like, did you get a description? Like, white hooded sweatshirt? I was wearing a white hooded sweatshirt at the time. I was like, oh yeah, I didn't see anyone like that. Or like, can you step out of the car, please? It's like, fuck. This is how out of my fucking mind I was back then. I was still holding the antenna. I don't even think about it. In my mind, I'm like offended that this guy thinks that I was destroying a vehicle, because I'm like thinking that that's something, I'm like imagining some like completely rabid dope fiend, like with a sledgehammer, just breaking some like lifted truck or something. I was like, God, nowhere's safe these days. I end up getting out of the car and I'm holding this antenna. Walk up to his car. He doesn't get out of the car. He tells me to get out of my vehicle and go to him. I just get out with the antenna. I walk right up to his car. He's like, back, please, back. I was like trying to go right up to him. I was like, all right, I'm holding the antenna. He's like, what do you have in your hand? I was like, nothing. And I put it behind my back. You know, like totally thinking that I'm being slick. There's another dude in the car. He like jumps out of the car, runs around. He's like, get on the ground. I was like, I just kind of like kneel down. Cuffs get put on me. And they find this antenna. Like, what are you doing with this? I was like, I found it. I found it. I wanted to keep it. I collect this kind of shit. He's like, we got a report that somebody ripped this off of a car about a half a block up. Sat there and did drugs with it. Are you smoking pot? The guys thought I was smoking weed. I looked like such a crackhead. But weed wasn't legal back then. So it was like, I don't think it was the same penalty, but it was definitely something you couldn't do, you know, but I think smoking crack was worse. And I just didn't say anything more. You know, and they're trying to get answers. I forget what they were asking me, but they were like, asking me what I was doing up there, and I already knew that I was fucked, that I wouldn't have like a good story. What was I going to say? Yeah, I went with some guy from work because I'm supposed to keep him in line because I'm becoming an associate producer for Spike TV, but then I got the urge to smoke something out of an antenna, so I just got out of my car and I went and broke it, and now I'm here. There's nothing that I could say that would sound logical at all. And usually I'm the kind of guy that like comes up with pretty witty shit to say to cops, but this particular instance, I was just defeated. Like I was like caught red-handed. They end up cuffing me. I don't know where Drew went. He just saw the cop and he took off, so like left me there. They start reading me my rights, pull me up, put me in the back of the cop car. Now at that time, I wasn't on any sort of probation or parole. You know, so it was like just a minor arrest. End up taking me to LA County Jail. I remember asking the cop, like on the way there, I was like, hey, what's going to happen to my car? They're like, oh, we've impounded it for you. I was like, oh, thanks, bro. I was really worried that you wouldn't impound it. Thanks, I appreciate it. What do I have to pay? Oh, $600, cool. I had money like that, though it didn't matter. So I ended up getting to LA County Jail. They charged me with trespassing and property damage, I want to say. I know I got charged with some sort of damage. I think it was property damage, but it was like, because it was like a Toyota, like wasn't worth shit. They were both misdemeanors. Like I didn't get charged with any felonies. I didn't have anything on me either. Like that was like the last of my drugs. They didn't charge me with paraphernalia. I really do think to this day that they thought that I was smoking weed out of that antenna, you know, and I just wouldn't answer them. If I had started talking to them, I probably would have tripped myself out and I probably would have gotten in more trouble. LA County Jail is, I believe that was the first, it was either the first or second time I'd ever been there, but it's ridiculous. You know, it takes 16, 17 hours to get booked in, and they take you to downtown, this like Twin Tower area, whatever it's called, and you basically have to go up floors. You know, it's like anywhere. You have to do intakes where you have to be cleared medically. They have to do your fingerprints. They have to take your mugshot. And you're just kind of like getting moved like musical chair style from like tank to tank. I was strung out at that point, and I'd been like on a vicious coke run, shooting it, and I think I just started smoking it. Maybe I was only smoking it because I was like, you know, like sometimes if I had to go do stuff with other people, like that particular day I was supposed to hang out with Drew, I would smoke crack just because it's easier, you know, like having to make up the shot of coke everywhere is just, it's complicated. crack tube, you can just like get out of the car, run to the bathroom, take a hit. You can do it while you're in the car, whatever. So I was pretty out of it when I got arrested. It's like my memory of it is pretty shaky. I just kind of remember being cold in LA County Jail and kind of just accepting my fate. I mean, I wasn't a stranger to getting arrested. I got arrested all those times in Massachusetts before that. I got arrested in Florida, did a bunch of time in Santa Barbara. I was like a veteran at that point. So I kind of just like curled up in the tank. And eventually, you know, they'd like move me periodically, like I said, and like I'd go up floors during the intake process. And eventually they called my name and they're like, Leone, roll it up. You're going home. I was like, all right, cool. And they gave me like this little, you know, like released me. They gave me this little like pink piece of paper with my charges, or it was like green or something. Basically, cite and release. You know, they like processed me into the system and they let me go because it was way too crowded in there. So I ended up getting out of there. It was early. It was like 8 or 9 a.m. in the morning. I remember I got arrested on a Tuesday. So it was like Wednesday. It was Wednesday morning when I got released. Now my car had been impounded. I didn't have my cell phone either. Pretty sure that I called Jenny on a payphone. Somehow I got a hold of her because I was like completely dope sick and I had to like explain what had happened, and I ended up taking a train up to Santa Barbara. We dealt with the car later. I remember Jenny had got me a train ticket to go back up there. So anyway, so I ended up getting back to Santa Barbara, got well, whatever. I don't really remember getting arrested that well. Like that whole thing's kind of foggy for me because I was like so cracked out. I've been arrested so many times, but I got charged with a couple misdemeanors. I'm pretty sure one of them was property damage on this car. And I ended up getting back up to Santa Barbara. You know, and of course Jenny's pissed off because I hadn't been arrested the whole time that we've been together. That was like the first time that that was the first time I've been arrested since we've been a couple. So she was concerned about it. You know, she already knew that I was like running amok with crack and coke and everything. And she was upset that I got in that situation to begin with. When I saw Jenny after I got right, so imagine that I was strung out. I ended up getting well. I do remember this part very clearly. I remember explaining to Jenny that I'd gone down there to meet up with one of Adam's media brokers, or whatever you want to call it. This guy Drew kind of explained the situation. And I said that he had taken me to the house with the gay couple. She didn't believe me. You know, she was like, you're mistaken. How much crack did you smoke? I was like, I broke in 10 and got arrested for it. Not that much. Jesus, you act like I'm not reliable or something. You know, I'm a little disappointed in you, Jenny. She thought that I was completely tripping. She thought, and you know what? At that point in my life, I was prone to hallucinate. I hallucinated quite a bit. I'd always be looking out the window, and I'd tell Jenny, I'd be like, hey, come here. Do you see that? There's 6 traffic cops in a Suburban. She'd look out the window, and there's nothing. There's just a parking lot. She'd be like, babe, you're tripping. Wait, there's 7. There's 7. Look. She'd look again, and she wouldn't see anything. So to her, I was unreliable, you know? But it was weird. I knew that I wasn't tripping about this, you know? And Drew is the kind of person that would know them. Wasn't that hard for me to kind of put the logic together. 2 gay socialites, a guy that I don't even know what race he was. It's unidentifiable. Like a Jurassic Park race or something. I don't know. He was, let's just say, Islander. But that guy knew everybody. You know, and those gay guys were party people. Yes, one's in Hollywood and One of them lived, where did Drew live? In Los Feliz. But still, he took me back to that area in Encino. And I was telling her, I was like, what are the chances? It's like, I remember that house. Like, I remember what the gate looked like, whatever. She didn't believe me. We had to get a ride down to LA from somebody. My friend Wyatt ended up giving me a ride down there. I had to go pick up Dope down there anyway. Get my car back. I had not talked to Adam now for at least like 3 or 4 days, you know? And the way that our relationship worked is I wasn't on salary with Spike. I was a freelance content or media broker. So it wasn't uncommon for me to go a few days without talking to him. Back then, I was probably meeting with him like twice a week. But all this other stuff had happened. You know, I'd gotten arrested. I went up to Santa Barbara, had to go back, had to get my car, had to get it out of impound. Those charges, by the way, those like misdemeanors, I don't know whatever happened to them. It's pretty common in LA for charges like that just to get thrown out. Like, they don't give a fuck. You like don't show up for court. What are they going to do? It's so overcrowded to begin with. When I got arrested for my DUI, the second time I went to federal prison, when I went to court, they didn't even read my case. You know, then there was another time where I hit somebody at the Commerce Casino. Have I ever told you that story? I don't know. It was a famous person. I don't know if I want to say his name. I probably have in a video, and I regret that. But that was the other time I got arrested down there. But anyway, when I called Adam, he told me that Drew was dead and that he'd commit suicide. He's like, did you hear about Drew? I was like, no, what happened to Drew? You know, because I was like convincing Jenny that like we were going to be able to reach these people through Drew. We were going to get our duffel bag full of Molly back, or we're going to be able to get our money. And then as soon as I call Adam, he's like all like sad because Drew killed himself. Now at that point in my life, I'm really trying to think. I don't think I knew anybody that had committed suicide at that point. And basically what had happened with him, even though he was a creepy guy, like I said in the last video, like I always got the vibe that he kind of wanted to like smoke crack and suck my dick. I mean, he didn't smoke crack, but I got the dick sucking vibe. But I guess he had this ongoing thing. He had like kids and stuff, and he was just battling it out with his ex. I don't know. It was over some shit to do with his ex-wife and his kids. Killed himself, left a note, whatever. You know, and I was like, just to be completely honest, just because I know you guys so well, I just cared that I was just mad because there went my opportunity of getting my Molly back. I really didn't know this dude that well. Like, I wasn't even really sad as much as I was like, fuck. There goes my opportunity to figure out whatever happened to that, what happened to these people. I don't think Adam was sad over him either. Like, he sounded more defeated than anything else. I didn't know it then, but he told me on the phone. I didn't know before this phone conversation, but he told me then that Drew was his biggest source of content. You know, that like he was going to be taking a major hit because we'd buy the stuff for like $300 or $400 a clip, sell it for like $600, $700, $1,000, $2,000, all the way up to $3,000, like I said. But Adam was selling this shit for like $15,000, $20,000 a clip, non-exclusive. I didn't know that then. Adam told me that like within the last few years, like last time I talked to him, because like he went on to work for MTV now. And I just asked him, I was curious. I was like, hey, like I know what I was getting for the clips. What were you getting? He's like 15 to 20K. I was like, fuck. Places like Spike just have like all this money to spend on shit like that. So if you're in a position like that, you come up fat. So think about it. If he's making that kind of money off clips, I probably submitted at the most 5, maybe 6 clips a week. this guy Drew was giving him like 15 or 20. And just like the way we would deal with it, a lot of them get rejected. So it's a numbers game. You want to be bringing the most content to the studio to make the most money. You know, he was in a salary position, but he got commissions off this, and he got paid like individually for this content. That's just how it was back then. He's like explaining all this to me, like in the 4 days that I hadn't talked to him, this dude killed himself. No, I hadn't talked to Drew at all in that period. I get off the phone with Adam and I tell Jenny. I was like, Drew killed himself. She didn't believe me. She's like, are you hallucinating? I was like, yeah, yep. I just had a fake conversation with Adam. She's like, call him back. I like called him back and I was like, Adam, my girlfriend thinks I'm having audible hallucinations. Can you tell her what you just told me? Adam jumps on the phone and he tells Jenny that Drew had killed himself. It's funny because that, like, by him telling her that, she started thinking that maybe I wasn't tripping about being at that house, even though the chances of that were, like, so extraordinarily low that, like, somehow I went back to that same house. I'm so tired right now. I'm trying to tell this story and my brain's just, like, scrambled. This is not the end of the story either. So, Adam was pretty stressed out, you know, and he was definitely a partier. Like, he did a bunch of blow and he drank, and he'd call me and, like, have crazy drunk conversations. He'd, like, call me from, like, a loud bar, and he'd be like, do you even realize that I'm trying to make you successful? You don't realize it, do you? Because you're doing stupid drugs. You're stupid. I gotta go. And you like hear some chick. Who is that? He's like, just some bitch. He hangs up on me. I'd never heard him worried before. But after that day that he told me that Drew committed suicide, he called me back, I think the same night. Basically, not crying in like a literal sense, but like really venting to me how bad this was gonna fuck him over. You know, like I just wasn't bringing enough. Like even if I brought 5 clips, maybe I sold 3. You know, I don't know what his quota was, but he was getting the majority of the stuff from this guy Drew. So I'm just like, look. He's like, I know Drew's mom. I've been over to their house before. She's this big fat lady that wears yellow dresses. I need you to come down here, and I need you to go to her house, and I need to do what you do best, and I need you to talk her into giving you Drew's cell phone. I was like, what the fuck for? The clips. You can call people on the phone, and now you're going to have access to all of his contacts. He's like, if there's anyone in the world that could pull that off, it would be you. I was like, wait, dude, you want me to come down there and talk to this woman who just lost her fucking kid that just killed himself? Try to get the cell phones so that I can randomly cold call people to try to get fucking footage? He's like, it's either that or you lose the gig with me. I was like, Jesus Christ. So there's like some unethical shit that goes on in television. Not that bad compared to the shit that other stuff that I was dealing with. But he was being dead serious. You know, he really needed his contacts, and he needed those clips. This is like how he kept his position for what he did. So I told him I'd do it. Because, of course, in my mind, I don't even care about his contacts or whatever. But I do care about figuring out what's up with that gay couple because of the Molly. I wanted to figure out what had happened to that. I mean, that was like a pretty big hit for me. But of course I tell this to Jenny and she's just like, oh my God. I don't even believe that. I'm like, dude, will you come with me? She's like, fine. You know, because one thing about her is that she was like always down for adventure. I think that's why she liked me so much. And I've had other girlfriends like that as well. Like, Karina's one of them. Like, Karina and I have nothing in common. Nothing except for fucking. It's like the one thing that we like both like. Besides that, we do like nothing. Is like, it's like, what do you want to watch? I'm like, Requiem for a Dream. She's like, I want to watch Friends. I'm like, fuck. You know? She doesn't like the same. She likes like EDM and like shit hot chicks like. I don't know. I don't like that. We really just don't. We don't have a lot of the same interests. But one thing that I will say about Karina and Jenny and pretty much every woman that I've been with, and a couple dudes too, they're like, yeah, you're adventurous, dog. They like that I turn any situation, no matter what it is, into some fucking wild ass adventure. Because that's just how I am. I could sit here and something horrible would happen if I didn't leave this room like the next 30 minutes. This is a horrible example. Let me give you a good example though of this. The other day, I was at 7-Eleven. Karina and I walk to 7-Eleven every day. That's what we do. It's one of our hobbies too, fucking and walking to 7-Eleven. And being parents. We've definitely both bond over that. No, she likes traveling. We have some of the same interests. But every day we go on our walk to 7-Eleven. So anyway, we go yesterday. And there's this just straight grimy ass fucking dude in there. Grimy. Looks like Richard Ramirez. He's got like greasy ass curly hair. He has like human hair from a scalp in his mouth. It's like matted. He looked crazy. Like he just killed somebody like high on meth or something. And he's standing in line. Karina's like getting a Slurpee for Nico and she's like doing some other shit. And he had gotten a Coca-Cola from the fountain. Like a fountain drink. You can do that at 7-Eleven. The 7-Eleven dude's like, yeah, you know, it's $1.40, whatever it was. And the sketchy Richard Ramirez looking dude starts fishing through his pockets. And he doesn't have any money. And he looks at the cashier and he's like, I don't got it, G. I don't got it. I look at him, I was like, I got you. He's like, huh? I was like, I got you. I'll cover it. Dog. I'm like, it's cool. Dog, I'm so appreciative of you, dog. I was like, cool. Have a good one. He's like, dude, let me get your phone number, dog. I'll fuck. Drool just spills out of my fucking mouth. He's like, I'll pay you back. I was like, dude, it's $1.40. I'm cool, man. I got you. Have a good day. He's like, oh. He's like, you could tell he was twacked out of his mind. I just drooled on myself. How embarrassing. So we end up leaving the 7-Eleven. And we walk, to get tacos at, a taco stand. There's a lot of street vendors in LA. Hold on. And I end up, when I'm getting the tacos from the street vendor, I end up running into this guy again. He's like, dog, do you smoke weed, dog? I was like, nope. He's like, what about other shit, dog? Karina looks at me like, Jesus Christ. I'm like, nope. He's like, what about this, dog? And he pulls out a bag of heroin. I was like, oh my God. I was like, no, nope. I'm a cop. No, I didn't say that. I was like, no, I'm good, dude. Please don't put that shit away. I don't even want to see it. And we leave, and Jenny, and Karina, I keep calling her Jenny. I'm so tired of her. Karina's like, she's like, see, that would never happen to a normal person. Ever. She's like, I've never had somebody pull out heroin and offer it to me ever in my life. I was like, you think it's the tattoo? She's like, it's just you. You just attract weird shit like that. But, in my defense, life is never boring with me. There's always an adventure. And that's why Jenny decided to go down to LA with me, because she wanted to get into an adventure. And we did. And we will get into the cell phone. It's a whole nother little 2-part series. This is kind of the prequel to that. In the next video. I'm tired as fuck. I don't know if you could tell, but it was so hard for me to do this video. Like, I'm like brain dead right now. Anyway, I don't know. Couldn't let you guys go without one. Gotta do at least one a day this month. Palabra.